We are back, baby. We are fucking back.
We are back!
That's
we
right.
are back!
I'm back! I'm back!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Baker Reviews. I know it has been a long time since you've seen my face, especially if you don't partake in my short-form content, you don't watch my live streams with my friends, and it's probably been about a good 6 months since you've seen me. So yes, I am alive and well, and I figured with it being October, with us primarily being a horror YouTube channel, what a better time for a comeback, right? So today, to dip our feet in, to get back into it, I figured we could have some fun with a tier list. We're going to talk today about every horror movie that I saw from 2024. Now, important to keep in mind, I'm not Sean Chandler, I'm not Cody Leach, I don't see 150 movies a year, but I have a pretty good list of 25 movies that I did see. So I figured we could go through today, we could break them up into tiers, and yeah, thank you as always for being here with me. I'm going to try to get back to creating content. Sorry about the wait, but I'm back now, guys, and this is our month. This is Brucey's time to shine.
It slipped. I just ate popcorn.
These are the 25 horror movies that I got a chance to check out from 2024. These aren't like in the order I saw them or anything, just a totally random order. So we're going to place these within the tier list. Real quick, I'll go over it. Top tier horror, pretty self-explanatory, right? This is like the best of the best 2024. These are movies I will watch over and over again. In some cases, I've already watched some of these multiple times. Next down is Bloody Good Time. This would be like the A tier, and these are still really, really solid horror movies. They're just maybe they don't hit the peaks of my top tier horror. Third down would be Good, but, and this is like, these are movies that I would still generally give positive reviews to, with some caveats. There are some issues I'm going to have with the movies in this category, but we'll get to that when I place them. Next up is going to be Kills a Few Hours, right down here. That is like your C tier, D tier if you want to call it that. And this is a movie that doesn't offend me as a horror fan. Like if I went to a friend's house and it was playing on their TV, I wouldn't be like, why the fuck are you watching this? It's essentially a one-time viewing for me, and now it's background noise. And then finally, we have Slow Death, which is our D or our F tier, depending on what kind of tier list you make. And these are horrible. These are bad horror movies. And I'm not generally someone that tells you not to waste your time, not to waste your money, because all of our opinions are different, right? What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. I already know I'm going to have a movie or two in my S tier that's going to piss some people off. But, that's why art is great. It's subjective. These are movies that even I would tell you probably don't waste your time, because these are just bad horror movies. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's get into the fun. Let's start placing these where I think they belong. All right, guys, and the first one we are starting with, based on our random shuffle here, is Maxine. And we're already starting off with a tough one, because I am somebody who's a huge fan of the Ti West trilogy. I loved X. Pearl is still my favorite. And I like Maxine. I'd be lying if I didn't say it's a bit of a disappointment. This is definitely the least horror of the three. This almost plays out as more of like an action thriller. I love Mia Goth. I love her in all three movies. The Kevin Bacon edition was really cool in here. I love the aesthetic. I think the movie really nails like the 80s neon fever dream kind of aesthetic. So I love the actors. I love the visuals. I love the look of the movie. There are a few standout creepy moments, especially like when she's getting that face put on her, like the face of wax. But it is a disappointment. This would be my least favorite of the three Ti West movies. And as much as I do like it, the ending of this movie is like the most predictable thing I've ever seen. Like it was this thing where the first 10 minutes of the movie, or even if you saw the end of X, you're like, I think I know what they're doing, but that can't be the direction they're going. That is way too easy. Well, it turns out that's what they went with. So the ending of this movie really killed a lot for me. That being said, I still do like it. And I'm a big supporter, I'm a big defender of the Ti West trilogy. I would probably put Maxine in good butt. And Mia Goth does have a good butt. But, sorry. But yeah, I have some issues with the movie. Overall, though, it's still pretty fun. All right, scrolling down here, the next one is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Now, if you don't know my thoughts on the first movie, me and my brother and my friend, we do Culture Shock podcast. We did an entire episode about that. That first movie is awful. It is clearly ripping off an IP just to make a profit. There was little to no effort put into that movie. It's literally just a bunch of hillbillies in a pig and a bear mask. It's terrible. The acting is like C-level movie. It's like CW soap opera acting. Not even that good. And it's just, it feels so gross, especially when they released this movie in theaters and tried to charge people like $20, $25 to go see this garbage. It pissed me off. I told myself I wasn't going to watch the second one. I lied, guys. Of course, I watched it. Here's what I'll say. It is better than the first movie. I think more effort was put into the characters. I think the acting's better. More effort was put into the backstory of the 100 Acre Woods killers, which is so weird to say. But more effort was put into the creatures. The creature design is better. When Tigger gets unleashed, that's a shit ton of fun. Now, is it good? Absolutely not. But at least there's a coherent story, there's a clear protagonist, and there was some effort put into the creature design, and the kills are better. That being said, it still has to go into slow death. I liked it more. I still didn't really like it. All right, guys, next up is, what is that? Oh, In a Violent Nature. I was super excited about this one when it released. I saw this day one in theaters. You know, they marketed it almost as like a Friday the 13th from Jason's perspective. Really, really cool idea. In theory, sounds amazing. In practice, it's boring as shit. This is basically like a nature documentary mixed with a slasher. There are 5 to 10 minute sequences of this movie with him just walking through tall grass, walking in the woods with nothing happening. They try to add lore with Johnny the Killer. You know, they try to have like this necklace or this locket that like brings him back to life. I apologize if I don't get all the details right on these movies. A lot of them I haven't seen since I saw last year in theaters. But I believe that's the gist of Johnny. And I mean, there are some really dope kills in here. Everybody by now knows the mountaintop yoga kill. Maybe one of the best kills of 2024. So I gotta give it that. Other than that though...
You are so fucking boring.
And also the end sequence, there's like 20 minutes of the final girl getting in this truck, trying to get away. And this lady just like telling her this long-winded story about comparing Johnny to a bear. And it's just so stupid. So guys, I wanted to like this a lot more. How they pitched it, I thought I was gonna love it. It's another slow death for me. All right, guys, now our next movie, and I think I'll finally get to scroll up here on the tier list. Our next movie is Heretic with Hugh Grant. Yes, 2000s heartthrob rom-com Hugh Grant. A very different role for him, and he absolutely crushed this movie. There's a lot of themes of, you know, is religion lying to you? Why you should be religious? Why you shouldn't be religious? Is this your God? The first half of this movie, the build-up, excellent. This also has Sophie Thatcher, who was from Companion this year. Love her as well. The first half of this movie, the girl's going to his house. I've never been so compelled in a horror movie by straight dialogue, I don't think. Because the first half of this movie, it's all just talking. It's all questioning your reality, questioning your beliefs, testing your faith. And I was loving it. I was 110% invested in this movie. And then they get the 2 doors. Right? The girls get the choice of the 2 doors. And as soon as they enter that basement, I think that's kind of when this turns into super generic, ran out of ideas horror movie. Just a huge step down in the second half of the movie. But that being said, I was so enthralled with the first half. I was so compelled by the conversations and kind of the debate happening. I still think it saved the movie enough that the second half doesn't ruin it for me. And I don't want to overplay like the second half is garbage. It just feels more generic for the first half originality and the build-up. So that being said, I still really did like Heretic. I would probably put this in bloody good time. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend this one. All right, now scrolling back down here, we have... Oh boy. We have The Crow 2024. First of all, I did an out-of-theater reaction out of this movie, and it's probably the most wrong I've ever been. Right? I went to this movie... had a few drinks beforehand, and I thought I kind of liked it. I was like, you know, there's some good action scenes. Second half's okay. And I was wrong, guys. I rewatched the movie since then, and more importantly, I rewatched The Crow 94, which I thought I didn't like as much, but rewatching that movie, I fucking love everything about that dark, gothic tale. This one is essentially two junkies that get together, and instead of like her leaving town because these people are looking for her, they just go out every night showing their face, partying in public. And then when the big thing finally happens, which if you saw The Crow 94, you know what happens. But when the big moment arrives, it doesn't hit like it should, right? You don't feel that sympathy for them because they are just two junkies that make every wrong decision at every turn. So while the action in the second half is pretty good, like Skarsgård does a great job with the physical side of this, and it gets better, the first half is such a drag with him in rehab and them like getting to know each other. It's weird how the first movie, all we had of our two protagonists was like the flashbacks, and you still felt more for them than you feel for these two, when these two are given way more development, so it should work better, and somehow it's worse. I did a full review for this, which was pretty much just a bitch fest. Just me going through my laundry list of issues with the movie. So if you want to see my more in-depth thoughts with The Crow 2024, you can check that one out. This one didn't really work for me on any level. Kind of a slap in the face to The Crow 94. So that is another slow death. All right, now our next pick is going to be Nosferatu. This came out at the tail end of 2024. I think this was like a Christmas release. And Nosferatu kicks ass. You know, prerequisite, I am a big fan of the creature features. I like the werewolf movies, except Wolfman. I like the werewolf movies. I like the vampire movies, Frankenstein. That's my shit, right? So I was already probably gonna like this movie, but it is a solid ass Nosferatu vampire type movie. Count Orlok is done incredibly again by Skarsgård. I believe he permanently like damaged his vocal cords doing the Orlok voice. But Orlok in this movie is so creepy, so intimidating. Of course, our boy Nicholas Hoult does a fantastic job as the lead. Just a lot of great character moments in this movie. A lot of dark gothic stuff in here that I really liked. Nicholas Hoult being at the castle is just some of the best stuff in 2024. And then, of course, when Count Orlok comes back to the town to try to take his wife, it's just, for me, it worked on almost every level. Nosferatu, one of my favorite 2024 horror movies. So for that reason, I believe Nosferatu belongs in top tier horror for me. For some people, it might be a little slow. I get that. For me, absolutely loved it. Scrolling down next, Abigail. Now, Abigail was made by Radio Silence, the same people that did Scream 5 and 6. They brought back their favorite girl, Melissa Barrera. And I've warmed up to this movie a little bit. When I left the theater, I was pretty disappointed. I think because I had seen some reviews going in. I know Cody Leach fucking loves this movie. So I was expecting myself to love it on that level. Didn't quite work for me as well, but I have warmed up to it a little bit more. On repeat viewings, it's pretty fun. Maybe I just took it too seriously the first time. I do hate the kind of scene at the beginning where you got like Melissa Barrera coming through the whole cast, like telling each one their backstory just because she has intuition or she's a good detective or something like that. That felt very ham-fisted, very cheesy. Didn't like that scene at all. And I really think they wasted Gustavo Fring here. Juan Carlo Esposito is in the movie. His character is totally wasted. When you get beyond that, it is just a fun little girl ballerina vampire movie where she's just slaughtering people. So I did have enough fun with it. I think if the marketing could have been different and you somehow could have surprised people that she's a vampire, man, that could have been like one of the coolest twists ever. If this could have just started as like a heist kidnapping movie, and then that reveal is like halfway through the movie, that would have blown me away. So Abigail, I have warmed up to it. I still think it belongs in the good but. Now scrolling down next, we have, that looks like The Watchers. This was M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, one of his daughters. This was like her directorial debut. And this was another movie that the setup was much better than the payoff. I think the first 25, 30 minutes of the movie, pretty solid. There are some logic issues, like, I know you shouldn't apply bad decisions or logic issues to horror, but there are some that are like too hard to overlook. Like when Dakota Fanning first gets into like this glass box that they're in, within her first night of being there, she finds like this hidden underground passage to a basement. And it's like, how have these people been here way longer than her? And they never found this clear opening to this basement. But anyway, that aside, I appreciate the effort here. Like I said, I like the setup, but the second half, this turns way more into like a fantasy story. And that's just really not my bag. Like it turns into a fantasy with like her bird and these fairies. And it's really, the payoff here is really strange compared to the build-up. I think it was going on a good trajectory and then it like fell off a cliff. And unlike Heretic, I didn't like the first half enough to like save the movie. So guys, unfortunately, I appreciate the effort. This one is another slow death. Maybe upon a rewatch, I would like it more. But based on what I have right now, didn't work for me. Next up, we're going to have Strange Darling. And this is technically a 2023 release, but it didn't get released into like a wider audience until 2024. So I'm counting it. And I absolutely love this movie. Spoilers right away. This is probably my favorite horror movie of last year, or it's like top 2. Kyle Gallner is a guy who's just grown on me more and more with each film. Love that dude. And not the last time I'll mention his name here with Smile 2. But love Kyle Gallner. I love the lead actress here. She knocked this movie out of the park. I like the non-linear storytelling they do too. It's like Act 4, Act 2, Act 6, Act 1. Really unique way to tell the story. A couple huge twists in here that I did not see coming. This is just an awesome movie in general. Like, I think this could be action and horror, maybe even more action. But this is a movie that keeps you guessing. Great performances. I loved it. Like, obviously, it being one of my favorite horror movies of the year, you guys know where this is landing. I gotta put this top tier horror, and I believe it deserves top of the top tier.
So I'm gonna have to ask you a question. Are you a serial killer?
What did you just say?
Next up is gonna be, speaking of bangers, we have The Substance. You have Margaret Qualley, you have Demi Moore, and her big like comeback tour. This movie was freaky as shit. This is like maybe the best body horror movie since The Fly remake with Jeff Goldblum. It's that good. It's just a really good message in here too about aging naturally and kind of being left behind in the Hollywood sphere, the Hollywood business as you age. Like, you know, as you get older, they have nothing to do with you. They don't want to cast you. They want the next young hot thing. And this is kind of Demi Moore trying to recapture her youth. And then things obviously go very wrong. I loved this movie so much. I thought it was so clever. I thought it was eerie. A lot of creepy sequences, a lot of hilarious sequences. There's like a full wrestling match here between young Demi Moore and old Demi Moore. It was just not what I was expecting at all. It was a huge, pleasant surprise. Also, Dennis Quaid is great in this movie. He definitely could have won like an award for Best Supporting Actor. If you have not seen The Substance, definitely go check this one out immediately. For me, this is another top tier horror. You see that? And people say I'm pessimistic. People say I'm negative. Look at that. Okay, well, I do have 4 in slow death, and I'll have a lot more. But anyway, next up is, what is this? Beetlejuice. I was very loose on the term horror with this movie. Same with The Crow. I don't know if you consider these horror, maybe horror adjacent. And Beetlejuice was fine. It didn't really move the needle for me in either direction. It was an okay sequel. I just think it is very over-convoluted, very overstuffed with plot points. Like, you had 2 to 3 good plot points here, 2 to 3 decent stories, that if you would have focused on one of them, I think the movie would have been stronger for it. It would have felt less convoluted. It would have felt more focused. But other than that, I mean, Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton, they step right back in their role seamlessly. They are amazing. Willem Dafoe's a nice touch in here. And then you have Jenna Ortega, who, I mean, for me, I don't mean anything personal, but for me, she's very one note in the types of movies she does. So this is more of the same, more of the angsty teenager. So if you like Jenna Ortega, this is more Jenna Ortega. But yeah, Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder were awesome in the movie again. It's great to see them, you know, a nice little hit of nostalgia, which is what we live on in 2025. But for me, Catherine O'Hara, man, she was the standout. I think Catherine O'Hara was the best part of this movie. So if you like her, definitely check it out. If you like the first Beetlejuice and you haven't seen this, it is a fun for the family kind of sequel that, has horror elements to it. So it didn't move the needle for me. I guess this would probably be prime for, it kills a few hours. Yeah, I think that's fair. Next up, we have Speak No Evil. This is, of course, James McAvoy. This is the remake of the 2022 Speak No Evil, which I believe was a Swedish film. This is the Americanized version of it. And this one has grown on me. When I first saw it, didn't love it. The Swedish version, the Swedish movie, way more brutal, way more of a dark ending. So this one kind of felt like, they put the gloves on a little bit. They played it a little safer. And at first I didn't love it, but you know what? I've seen this like 3 times in total now, and James McAvoy is so damn good in this movie. And still, like, the creepy undertones are there, like with the way they treat their child, wondering like what is really happening here. This movie has really grown on me, like a lot. This would probably be like the biggest riser out of this list for me. Just for James McAvoy alone, it's worth it. And the third act is still good, but the dark, twisted son of a bitch that I am, I still do prefer the third act of the OG movie. But this one, I do like a lot more today than I did when I first watched it. So this one is a big riser for me. I'm going to put this in bloody good time. Whereas before, probably would have been like good, but. Next up is Longlegs. Oh boy. Longlegs, everybody's favorite, Nick Cage. Longlegs was solid. I liked the first half, I think, a lot more than I liked the second half. It was almost like the less they showed of the character Longlegs, the better the movie was for it. Like, they tried to compare a lot of this to Silence of the Lambs. First half, I could see those elements a lot. A lot more detective work, a lot more police work, and checking evidence, and trying to find out who this person is, trying to find out how these murders were happening. And then you kind of see Longlegs just in the middle of the daylight. It kills a lot of the suspense for me. It killed a lot of the tension there. I mean, the character himself, goofy as hell, Nick Cage as hell, and I did love him. I got some like laughs out of the character, and there were some creepy moments. But like I said, I just think the more they showed his character, the more this movie kind of went downhill for me. And then at the end, you have the stuff with her mom, and then the lead detective's family and stuff. There's so many plot holes there. Like, it seems like easy ways she could have broken the curse. The ending of the movie didn't work for me at all. First half was really solid. Just kind of a shame where it led to. And unfortunately, it was so overhyped for me. I didn't see Longlegs right away, but by that time I saw it, all the reviews were saying, like, this is the best horror movie in a decade. Don't believe the hype, guys. It was fine, but it was not at all what I wanted it to be. Longlegs, for me, I would probably say good, but. And unfortunately, that but is showing too much Nicolas Cage, which I never thought I would say. Next up is going to be Alien Romulus. The latest edition, the Fede Alvarez version of Alien. I really, really loved Alien Romulus. As Willem Dafoe would say, this is back to formula.
Back to formula.
But I think this movie captured what we loved about the OG Alien so much. And I think it's also a great blend of, like, the first half of this movie is very Alien. Second half of the movie is more action-packed. It's more Aliens. So I think it's a beautiful blend of the two. Maybe a little bit overdone on the Easter eggs and the cameos. I get that. Like, sometimes that even annoys me. Like a movie like Ready Player One that is just built on nostalgia and built on Easter eggs. It's too much for me. I get it. And I kind of agree here. Maybe one too many Easter eggs throughout. Maybe they brought back 1 or 2 characters that they shouldn't have. And I will say one of the negatives is that most of the characters here, aside from the main 2 who I loved, a lot of cannon fodder, right? They're characters that are just there to be killed off. It's not like the crew is anywhere near as memorable as Alien or Aliens. They're just there to die, basically. But man, with the updated 2024 effects, the chest bursters look great, maybe scarier than ever. The end of the movie, like I said, is much more Aliens, and it's badass. The android in this movie, David Johnson played him. He was so damn good. I believe his name was Andy. There is one big decision here that is more in line with maybe Prometheus Covenant, with like the main alien. It's definitely not the Queen Xenomorph, but it's a different take on it. And I understand a lot of people that's going to ruin the movie for them. Personally, it didn't for me. And I just think this movie does a lot of good alien stuff. A couple things take it down a touch for me, but for me, this is still a bloody good time. And this movie's so divisive too. I see like so many people say it's the worst movie of 2024. I think those are just like alien fanboys that nothing's ever going to measure up to those first two. Now, next up is going to be... oh god, that is The Strangers Chapter 1. At the time of the recording this, I actually haven't got out to see The Strangers Chapter 2 because of how much I hate this movie. The first Strangers is a classic. It is one of the best home invasion movies of all time. Hell, I even get some guilty pleasure out of Strangers Prey at Night. Why they thought this movie needed to be made, and why Renny Harlin wants to make this into a trilogy, I'll have no idea. Why are you trying to explain backstories on characters that the whole point is we don't know who they are? The whole point is they attacked people just because they were home. Why they're trying to explain who they are makes absolutely no sense, and it kills the whole point of the franchise. And I know you can't count bad decisions against people in horror movies. This is an exception. This is a movie where these characters make the 180 wrong decision at every single opportunity. Like, there are moments when they have a double-barrel shotgun to the side of a stranger's head, and they could pull the trigger, and they just don't. And it's dumb. It makes no sense. The people in the town, too, they try to do, like, when our protagonists first come into this Hodunk town, they try to do, like, they go to this cafe where everyone's looking at them funny, where anybody could be the killer. It could be the diner worker. It could be the mechanics. That's ruining The Strangers. Like, that is ruining the whole point of The Strangers. So I hated the beginning, I hated the end, and I hated everything in between. It was like they took all the beats from The Strangers, and they just did it worse. Way worse. The lead actress isn't terrible. She has some potential. Maybe I'll like her as well in the second movie. Everything around her is shit. And so for that reason, this is absolutely a slow death. And I would recommend any fan of the first movie, don't waste your time on this one. All right, now next up we have Cuckoo. Cuckoo is a movie I enjoyed overall. It's probably the movie I remember the least amount of details for whatever reason on this list, but Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens both give really good performances. Everything around them, though, is just kind of forgettable, as you can tell. I forgot all the details. There are some effective-ass scares in this movie, and not just jump scares. That's important. Like, I feel like movies now, horror movies, rely way too much on jump scares to the point where that's all you get in some movies, and it just feels lazy. This movie had some genuine unsettling stuff without having to use that trope. Like when Hunter Schafer is riding her bike away from like the hotel or the store or wherever she works at, and that shadow is like getting closer to her, that was genuinely unnerving. And then there was like another big moment in here with somebody being in a trailer and someone like peeking around the corner and coming at them. That was another one that kind of got me a little bit. But aside from the great performances, aside from a couple good scares, the rest of the movie didn't leave much of an impression on me, but it's not bad. This is definitely not like a shit movie, and maybe I will revisit it again someday, but I don't have a lot to say about it, unfortunately, because I don't remember a ton. So I will put this for now, kills a few hours. And let me scroll up here just so you can see what we're working with so far. Well, we're about to add one to the slow death category, because next up is Mousetrap. And why I watched this movie? I have no fucking idea. I really don't. I guess I was just in the mood for something I knew was going to be complete shit. And that's what this was. This is just like a poor man's attempt at a slasher, like trying to add some scream elements in there. This movie is complete dog shit. The acting is like something you would get if I tried to act, and you don't want to see that movie. So the acting from everybody here is like C, D tier. If I put them in a tier list, it would be slow death. So all of the performances are bad. The budget's low, so it doesn't look good. It's dimly lit. It's hard to see at moments. The killer's voice is fucking hilarious. Like, to the point, they don't do like a Mickey impression, but you have to look it up for yourself. I might put a little clip in here. This is an embarrassing movie. It's fun as hell. It's like if you want to have some drinks and watch a dumb movie with friends, I guarantee you all laugh your asses off at Mousetrap. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is significantly better than Mousetrap. So I'm going to put this all the way at the bottom of Slow Death, the worst horror movie I saw in 2024. All right, guys, we're now down to our final 8 movies here. So we have next A Quiet Place, Day One. This has Lupita Nyong'o, which of course was huge in Us, Jordan Peele's Us. That has Joseph Quinn, who is now the Human Torch in the new Fantastic Four movie. And it was just okay. I am a big fan of the first Quiet Place. Second one is pretty good, but not as good. This movie felt like it didn't really need to exist within this universe. I like, in theory, I like another person's story on the day that like the alien forces came to Earth and seeing it unfold. I do like that aspect of it, but once you get away from that, it's like Lupita Nyong'o is sick and she wants to get to like this record store or this music store that was in town before she passes away. And it just feels more like a drama than anything resembling horror. It feels like a drama cut in with random horror scenes when you see these creatures. It didn't feel like it belonged in the Quiet Place universe. I feel like there was another telling of this you could have done as like an independent movie where I would have enjoyed it more. So it was fine, but within the context of A Quiet Place, I would say it kills a few hours for me personally. All right, guys, now next up is going to be Late Night with the Devil with David Dastmalchian, who I love as an actor. And I actually got quite a bit of enjoyment out of this movie. This is like, it takes place during the golden age of late night talk shows with like Johnny Carson. And this is a new, different direction to do like a found footage horror film that I really dug. This is like half found footage interviewing kind of style and half being on the set of this late night show where he brings in this entity, brings in this spirit because he's like desperate for ratings. So it's like a Halloween special where he's trying to bring in this thing where, you know, people think it's bullshit. People think it's hoopla, it's paranormal, lying to people. And then some shit goes down. I thought the movie was actually really solid. I love David Dastmalchian. I like the supporting cast. The only thing I don't like about it is, like, for me, when an A24 movie goes off the rails and it feels super pretentious, this movie kind of does that with the final 15, 20 minutes, where it introduces, like, this cult and him kind of, like, trading a soul for his success. And it just gets so weird and over-convoluted by the end of the movie that, to me, it kind of felt like Mother from, I think, 2017, where by the end of the movie, there was just so much going on that I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? So it's just a shame because this movie was like 85%. I was really digging the vibe, and then 15% totally off the rails. So for that, I would say, for me, this is still a bloody good time. It was one of the better horror movies of 2024, I'd say. All right, guys, now next up is going to be Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, and she's got some great genes, but you don't see them in this movie. Overall, this is a trope that's been done a million times. You know, religious horror is not really my thing, and that's what this is. You have her, like, in a nunnery, a nun house. Do you call it a nunnery? You have Sydney Sweeney in a nunnery where, you know, things seem fine at first, and then it gets darker and, you know, more perverse as it goes along, and things aren't quite what they seem on the surface. And, you know, I thought it was fine. I think she gives a good enough performance. Like, I think she has what it takes to carry a horror movie. I just don't think this was necessarily the one for her. It didn't move the needle for me either way. It wasn't, like, bad to where I was laughing, but it never fully had me enthralled by the story. I think the end was pretty fucking gnarly. The end is going to turn a lot of people off because it's pretty dark and there's maybe a message in there that not everybody loves. But man, the way she commits to it and just goes like full on psycho, I think she ate. Is that what kids say? She ate in that last scene. For me, I would say this kills a few hours. I think I'm comfortable putting it right there. Will I ever watch it again? Probably not, but it didn't offend me. All right, now movies that did offend me. Next up, we have Trap. This was an M. Night Shyamalan film, which, for some reason, every year M. Night comes out with a new movie, and every year I get excited thinking, like, this is the one. M. Night is so back. M. Night is not back, guys. He's probably never coming back. I do appreciate Josh Hartnett's performance here. He was so schlocky and campy. He knew what kind of movie he was in, and this dude saved it a little bit. Like, where it doesn't work for me is the nepotism in this movie is so gross that it feels like M. Night made an entire movie around just letting his daughter get up on stage and sing, and then in the second half having her be like the main star. And like, her music's fine, she's not a bad singer, but it just feels gross, you know? It makes my skin crawl considering her dad was the director. And like, we spend full 3-4 minute sequences watching her sing, where it's like stuff could be going on in the background, but he clearly just wants to show off his daughter's skills and her talents. On top of that, there's way too many conveniences here. There is 8, 9, 10 times in this movie that Josh Hartnett 100% would have been caught in real life, but because this is a movie, he finds these secret passages and he sneaks around cops and he takes stuff right from their belt, and he has random vendor workers in the concert telling him information that vendor workers would never know. It's so disappointing because Josh Hartnett, I love him as an actor. It's great to see his comeback. M. Night, there was a time where he used to be a masterful director, but that time is long gone. Guys, this is a slow death for me. I will put it above Mousetrap, but it didn't really work. Next up, we have Smile 2. Of course, the follow-up from Smile a couple years ago. I feel like this is going to piss some people off, guys, because I think Smile 2 is an amazing horror film. I think it is better than its predecessor at everything it does. It is truly terrifying. It's unnerving. The Naomi Scott's performance is like 10 out of 10. She deserves some type of award recognition, the same way that Demi Moore did, the same way that Mikey Madison did for Nora. I think Naomi Scott just goes for it in this movie, and she fucking crushes. And the movie around her, it's more of what you expect from the first movie, but it's just done to a higher degree, a more nerve-inducing, a more tension-filled way. I think the story being told is better. I think her character is very sympathetic, even though, you know, some of the stuff she does, it's her own damn fault. But I think there's enough there. There's enough character moments to redeem her where you feel sorry for her. There is some stuff at the end where I know it's hard to know, like, what's real, what's not real. For some people, like my boy Cody Leach, that, like, ruined the entire experience for him. For me, not at all. When, you know, it snaps back to reality, for me, I was like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? And I think it plays into, like, people going so far, getting so paranoid, and going so far down this Smile rabbit hole that they're losing their minds. That's kind of the point of it. Like, they're going crazy. So you kind of get it through their eyes of unreliable narrator, right? You don't know what's real. You don't know what's in their head. And when it, like, snaps back to reality, for me, I was floored. I love this movie. And maybe you don't. This is my list. Make your own, share it, send it to me. I would love to see your list as well. For me, Smile 2 is an absolute home run. But that's not the last S tier that's going to piss some people off. All right, guys, I'm not going to spend much time on these next two. Night Swim, Imaginary. This is essentially the same movie made by Blumhouse. It is generic schlock. I would rather watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I would rather watch The Crow 2024. I would rather watch The Mousetrap before these movies, because even though The Mousetrap is worse, at least it's funny. Like, at least it's so bad you can laugh. These two are like a haunted teddy bear and a haunted fucking swimming pool. It is like a movie that you watch it, and as soon as you leave the theater, which, yeah, if you're like me, you're a dumbass that did go to the theater, but you're somebody, as soon as you leave the theater, you instantly forget everything that just happened, because there's just nothing memorable here. It is super generic. It feels like a movie's like made by AI just to sell tickets. And Blumhouse is so weird, right? Because sometimes they can make brilliant stuff, and other times it's like, why would you greenlight this? So those two are the same movie. I'm not going to go into details about them. Don't watch them. And then to end my list, speaking of placements that will piss people off, Terrifier 3 for me, easy top tier horror. This is S tier of 2024.
Okay, kill him!
I know not everybody loves Art the Clown. Not everybody loves Terrifier. I know it is torture porn, it's gore porn, which normally I hate too. Look, I'm not a big fan of the first Terrifier. I appreciate the hell out of what they did with that budget, but, you know, for me, it's not my kind of jam. There's zero story to it. And for me, even with horror, you know, story, in some way or another, story has to come first. There has to be at least enough there that it'll keep me interested. The first Terrifier didn't do that. Terrifier 2 and 3 introduces Sienna Shaw and Jonathan Shaw, and Lauren Lavera, dude, fucking crushes. Like, I think they actually gave us characters to care about, to sympathize for. They gave us a story. They're adding more lore to Art the Clown, which I love. I can't wait to see what they do with Terrifier 4. But Terrifier 3, unpopular opinion, is actually my favorite of the franchise. Most people would say Terrifier 2. I love the Christmas aesthetic here. I love Art the Clown in a Santa uniform. I love how he plays on Christmas, like with his sack that he always carries. There's a hilarious scene in a bar that just thinking about it cracks me the fuck up. It's a continuation of Sienna and Jonathan from the second movie. Like I said, I love how they continue a character arc here. And you know, the violence is here, like always. I think Terrifier 2 probably still owns the most gruesome kill of the franchise. But make no mistake, there are still some brutal kills in here. And then, you know, this movie commits a couple of the deadly sins of movies that you don't do. And I understand people hating this movie for that reason. It hurts animals, and it kills kids. And I know those are two things that most people, it's going to instantly turn them off. I get it. I'm not saying I'm an advocate for it. But the movie does it in like a way that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it works. Somehow, against all odds, it works. More Art the Clown is always good for me. More Sienna and Jonathan Shaw is always good for me. And I love where the story's going. I love what it introduced in this movie. And like I said, I'm just so pumped for Terrifier 4. And yeah, that's it. To me, Terrifier 3 is the most fun I've had with the franchise. It's the most artiest Art the Clown has been. He has a new sidekick here who loves glass. All right, guys, but I'll leave you with this one final look at my tier list of every horror movie I saw in 2024. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.